If you think that branding is just making a logo, this video might change how you think about branding completely. By the end of this video, you're going to understand the difference between a logo and a brand, the different parts that could make up a logo, and why companies are willing to invest so much in something that is much more than just a symbol. And if you're a designer, understanding the difference could help you explain your work better, create stronger identities, and start thinking beyond just making things that look good. So let's talk about branding versus logo design. One of the most common misunderstandings I see when someone is new to design is using the word logo and branding interchangeably. Someone might say, I need a brand for my business, even though they really mean a logo. And even though a logo is a very important part of a brand, it is one piece of a much bigger picture. Think of it this way. A logo is like your name. Your brand, that's your entire personality. Your name is something that people use to identify you, but it doesn't tell your whole story. It doesn't really tell people how you speak, what you believe in, or how you treat others, what kind of experience they could expect from you. A logo works the same way. A logo, it identifies the company, but branding creates the feeling associated with that company. Let's start with the smaller piece, the logo design. A logo is a visual identifier that represents a company, a product, or an organization. But a logo, it could actually come in a few different forms. The first we'll talk about is a wordmark. A wordmark is when the company's name becomes a visual in itself. The focus here is more on typography, spacing, and the personality of the letters. A carefully designed wordmark could communicate so much about a brand before anyone even reads it. For example, a luxury brand, they might use very elegant, refined typography, something to communicate sophistication, where a playful company, they might use like rounded, friendly typography. It feels more approachable. And the next we'll talk about is an icon or a symbol mark. This is a visual symbol that doesn't necessarily include the company's name. The goal with this is to make a symbol that gets recognized without even mentioning the brand at all. And the third is a combination mark. This combines the word mark and the icon together. This is often the most useful move for new companies because they could introduce the full logo together. And then eventually the icon on its own, because then people will recognize it. Basically, the purpose of a logo is recognition. It helps people identify a company quickly and remember it. A great logo is memorable, simple, and versatile. And above all else, communicates something about the business. But here's the important thing. A logo itself isn't creating the entire brand. A logo is one visual clue. The rest comes from branding. And branding, it is the process of creating the complete identity and experience of a company. And this encompasses everything that people experience when perceiving the company. This includes things like logo, color, typography, photo style, illustrations, packaging, website, advertisements, even the tone of voice, the customer experience. This could actually even be as detailed as the way that employees interact with the customers. All these things work together to create a brand. A brand is not just what the company says it is. A brand, it's actually what people remember it being. And this is why branding is so important, because people, they're not just buying products, they're buying feelings, experiences, associations with that product. Okay, we're back to my coffee shop analogy. Let's imagine two coffee shops and they're both selling the exact same coffee. Same beans, same prices, same quality. A very controlled experiment. But one of the coffee shops, they have a warm, soft color palette, handwritten typography, cozy photography, and friendly messaging. And of course, we can't have a coffee shop, even if it's fictional, without beautiful packaging. And the other coffee shop, it just has a basic sign, random fonts, inconsistent visuals. The coffee tastes exactly the same, but the experience, it feels completely different. That difference right there is branding. Branding creates expectation before the customer even takes their first sip of coffee. So now let's talk about why people confuse the two. Usually it's because the logo is the most visible part of a brand. It's the thing that people see first. When someone says to me, can you design my brand? I automatically know that they probably mean logo, because that's the part that people recognize. And honestly, it makes sense. The logo is tangible. You could see it, you could download a file, you could put it on a business card. But branding is more complicated because it's a system. It requires strategy, A designer has to understand who is the audience. What does that company want people to feel? What makes this company different? What personality does the brand have? A logo without strategy is just a visual. A brand uses design to communicate a message. And this is where the role of a designer gets misunderstood. A lot of people think that designers are just creating visuals. And yeah, we do, we create visuals. But designers are problem solvers first. When we're creating a logo, we're not just asking what looks cool. We're asking things like what represents this company? What about that will connect with the audience? Will this mark work 5 years from now? How can the design communicate without needing an explanation? Because design is not just decoration, it's communication. One analogy that I really like is thinking of the logo as like the front door of a house. If you think about it, the door is very important. It's the first thing that people see. It gives people a little idea of what's inside, but the door is not the entire house. The house includes rooms, furniture, atmosphere, the memories that are created inside the house. A beautiful door doesn't mean you have a great house. A great house needs more than just a nice door. A logo works the same way. A beautiful logo can't fix bad customer experience, but a brand creates consistency in what people see and what they experience. A lot of small businesses actually start out this way, and that's completely okay. Not every business has the budget or the resources to have a full branding strategy. A logo is often the first step, but as a business grows, branding becomes even more important because suddenly you need things like social media graphics. You need packaging, advertisements, a website, and suddenly that business needs people to recognize them everywhere. And that is when a brand system becomes valuable. A logo becomes the foundation, but the brand becomes the entire structure. So what is the difference between branding and logo design? A logo is the visual identifier. A brand is the complete experience that people have of the company. A logo helps people recognize you, but a brand, that's what helps people remember you. And this is why great design goes far beyond making things look attractive. A good designer knows that every font, color, and image tells a little part of the whole story. So if you're a baby designer, don't just focus on making logos that look good. Start learning how to build identities. Learn a little bit about how businesses communicate. Learn how design creates emotion and connection. Because a logo might be the first thing that someone sees, but a brand, that's the very thing that makes them stay. And that's the difference between designing just a picture and designing an experience. But okay, guys, that's all I have for you today. I hope you found this video helpful. This is a topic that I really find interesting. And if you did, go ahead and give this video a like. Subscribe for more just like this because I make videos every single week. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!